Hey folks, I wanted to do a sort of I'm going to call this like a mid-campaign review, kind of give my thoughts on Ticket to Ride Legacy, the Legends of the West. We just finished Game 7, and out of the 12 campaign, or 12 game campaign, and so we're about a little over halfway through, and I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts on this game. I'm really enjoying it. It's probably my favorite Legacy experience so far. The Legacy components that are revealed are game changing. They're going to add more things to do essentially throughout the game on your turn. More things, maybe I should say more things you have to keep track of. They don't give you more things to do. They just kind of, they're going to alter your strategies for sure. And I'm not going to go into specifics as to what the changes are, just to so none of this gets spoiled for anybody. But they are significant, in my opinion. They are significant things that get added to the game, and each one is adds a fairly significant mechanic. So it's always something new. A lot of Legacy games, the Legacy components that you open are just, oh, here's some more cards. Here's just a new rooms, like with Betrayal or House on the Hill. The Legacy mechanics of that was, for the most part, here's just some additional rooms. You know, okay, now you can destroy this room, or get rid of this card. You're naming cards. Like, yes, that's all Legacy, but it's not. The main game of Betrayal at House on the Hill was still there and was still at its core your standard game of Betrayal at House on the Hill. Not a whole lot changed from the Legacy aspects. In this game, I feel like a lot is changing. This isn't really a spoiler. You're going to be building the map essentially from game to game. So your games will take longer. You are adding more options for yourself in terms of routes to take, but there are, as you unlock the Legacy components, there are a lot more things to keep in mind rather than I have to make these tickets. You're gonna have options in terms of, or not options. You're gonna have decisions to make in terms of, do I go to try to finish this ticket, or do I go off and do this other thing? It's sort of, I don't want to really say it's kind of, I don't want to compare it to Clank Legacy because that game had a different feel, in my opinion. With Clank Legacy, it is a competitive game. You are working for the same company, so to speak, but you at least my group, we worked together to unlock Legacy components because we were excited to see what they were. We didn't actively try to stop somebody. It was okay guys, for this game I'm gonna go and do this thing to try to complete this, unlock this Legacy piece or this quest that the somebody had to compete or complete. And nobody, for the most part, nobody tried to stop that person. They're like, okay, you go do that, I'm going to go do this. And we just try to unlock as much stuff as we can, and play through the story. So it was competitive, but it was sort of a cooperative, competitive game. Ticket to Ride Legacy is very much a competitive game. It's just like Ticket to Ride, the normal game. You're not really going to be helping each other at all. There is some, I wouldn't say there's any more ways to significantly hurt your opponents. There are some other things that come up through the legacy stuff where you have other ways to hamstring some of your opponents, or throw them. I don't even want to say throw them a curveball, because it's not really. It's just a minor inconvenience. There's no way that you can really completely. Well, I guess you could, but you could do that. You could block somebody's routes, right, and make them go the long way around. There are going to be ways to sort of mitigate that throughout the game as you open things up, but it's also on you as a player to anticipate that and see that coming and try to beat the person to the punch. Or, okay, I'm definitely, so-and-so's going to be taking this route within the next 2 or 3 turns. I might as well start trying to plan to go around, around these other cities to get to where I need to go. What else about this? Just really, really enjoying it. Would highly recommend it. Even if you've never played Ticket to Ride before, you would still do well. You could probably replay the first game, just not because you don't really do any legacy style stuff until the end of that first game. So you could play through that and, for the most part, just reset it. So if somebody wants to play it a couple times to get more familiar with sort of how a game of Ticket to Ride flows, then you could do that. There is one sort of big difference, is that you don't score points for putting a route down. That's a big difference with this versus any other Ticket to Ride game. So even if you are an experienced Ticket to Ride player, that's not going to throw you for a loop. It's just be aware coming into this game that you're not scoring a ton of points for putting down a 5 length track versus putting down a 2 length track. Now there will be things that come in later in the game that will sort of behoove you to make the longer routes if you can. But again, I'm not going to get into all that. The mechanics that open up are fun and engaging, and have actively made me change my strategy, which I appreciate. It's not like I'm just playing a normal game of Ticket to Ride every time. It's what I plan to do very much depends on the mechanics that are in play. Those mechanics are going to come and go as well, so mechanics that you open up may be there for 4 or 5 games, and then they may go away after that. So it's something that you have to act on. You can't just this new mechanic came out, I'm not really going to do anything with that for this game. You're going to have to actively make an effort to engage in those mechanics. I think if you want to be successful. Trying to think of other things that sort of have those are all for the most part positives. Negatives, I don't know if I really have any negatives at this point. It's like any game of Ticket to Ride, you're going to be at the mercy of the cards you get from the train deck. You're going to be at the mercy of the cards you pull from the tickets, for your routes to get points. But you're just going to have to work. Sometimes you're going to get tickets that aren't that don't match up. Like, they're not tickets you can sort of reuse. Like, I've got New York to Pittsburgh, and then I've got New York to Chicago, and then you could use the New York to Pittsburgh. You've already got half that route built out to Chicago, sort of thing. You might not, you might get routes that are all over the place, and you're just going to have to deal with it, or try to get more tickets, just like you would in a normal game of Ticket to Ride. I do feel like with the other mechanics that open up, it's not a race to just lay out tracks, lay out trains, routes, claim routes. You have a lot more things to think about, so and to add on that you're not just scoring points for putting out trains. I think that is helpful for not turning the game into just one giant race. For the most part, with our group, I don't think there's been anybody who's been way far behind in terms of having a ton of trains left. There may have been one game where the winner pulled way ahead, but the other three players had a similar amount of trains left. The winner essentially was just able to get the right cards and right tickets to do what he needed to do. But for the most part, there hasn't been a ton of disparity in trains left, because you do score bonus points for how many trains you have left. Obviously, the lesser number of trains you have, the more points you'll get. So it behooves you to try to put your trains out. But like I said, it hasn't really felt like it's been a race. I paid attention to how many trains my opponents have left, but I'm not constantly checking. I'm just, okay, I've got down to about half my trains. Let's look at everybody else. Okay, they're about the same for the most part. So just kind of gauge where you're at, but I'm not constantly analyzing how many trains people are putting out or how quickly they're playing routes or that type of thing. What else? Legacy deck has been pretty average, I guess I would say. It's what you would expect out of a Legacy deck, and that's Legacy deck is basically the deck of cards that do not shuffle this. Reveal these cards when they say to reveal, and read them, and they'll add additional cards to the game. It's been pretty standard for the most part, as every other Legacy game where it's adding this or that. The big things that get added are the when you start expanding the map. That's where you get the bigger mechanics to sort of change up how everything plays. We haven't named anything other than just our. I think you can name your rail line, but we haven't written on cards. We've written on score. You have a score pad that you keep score. Everybody tracks their score at the end of each game, and that goes into your vault to sort of divvy up or tally up at the end of the campaign. But we haven't really written on any cards. We have. There's stickers, plenty of stickers. They're going out, changing the board. Ton of rule stickers, which I always enjoy. That Ticket to Ride's a pretty base game in itself, but there's a lot more that comes into it as the campaign goes on. Winners and losers. For the most part, there's been a decisive winner. I think we had one game where there was a tie early on, maybe game 2, game 3. And tie basically came down to who completed the most tickets, and there was the winner, I think, completed 1 or 2 more tickets than the other player, much to their chagrin. But there is a mechanism in there to sort of deal with ties. feel like they did give, for the most part, everybody gets something to do. Well, not everybody at this point. Sort of like at the end of the game, when you do start going through the legacy aspects, like the end of the game, like setting things up and unlocking different things. There's going to be a couple players that have something to do. Some of the other players may not. With a 4-player game, 3 people have something to do basically, and then the one person does not, at least at this point. If you're playing a 5-player game, there would be 2 people that wouldn't have anything to do, but hopefully that's rotating itself around where the same player or a couple players are not finishing in that same place that doesn't get to do anything. They're somewhat meaningful decisions, but they're not game-breaking decisions, I don't think. Or game, I guess not breaking, game-making decisions. I think that's about it at this point. Like I said, I really do enjoy this game. I'm looking forward to finishing it. You should be able to play this game after you finish the campaign. You'll have your own little unique board that you can continue to play on. I'm interested to do that. I'm also interested to get another copy of this game and play through it again with 5 players. I think this is one of the legacy games where, even though you know it's coming up in terms of like the unlocked legacy components, you really still can't plan for it that much. You'll maybe have a leg up on some of the strategy, but for the most part, it still comes down to the tickets you get and the train cards available to you on your turn. The event system can really hamstring you. In fact, I can't remember if it was game 6 or game 7 that we just played. There was an event that came out that basically brought the game to a halt pretty quickly. I did not mind it because it allowed me to gather more train cards so that I could sort of restock myself. But some of the other players were not too enthused about the effects that the event put into play. Everybody was, for the most part, everybody was able to work around it and continue on just at a slower pace. But it was one of those things where, you know, a card comes out that really, it was a lot of the times, and a card like that in a legacy game will come out and it might only affect 1 or 2 players. This card affected everybody, and it was easier to swallow because everybody was affected by it, and there wasn't somebody that could just play right through it as if it wasn't in effect, which was good, because I could see that being a point of contention with some other groups. All right, this video's already gone a little bit too long, but those are my initial thoughts on my mid-campaign thoughts on Ticket to Ride: Legends of the West. Very much enjoying it. Very much looking forward to finishing it. Highly recommend getting it. It is a higher price point for a legacy game. Maybe it's the same price as Clank Legacy. I can't remember how much Clank Legacy was when it came out. This was $120, and it's worth every penny. You're going to play, like we're playing 4 players, 12 games. That's like maybe $3 a player per game, basically. So it's not, it is expensive, but it's not for what you're doing. You can't go see 12 movies for that price. You can certainly buy cheaper games that you may enjoy just as much, but they really outdid themselves with the legacy aspect of this game. I'm really pleased with it. I'm this is probably my favorite Legacy game to this point. Clank Legacy Season 2 should be coming here in the next month or a couple months, I think. I think it's on the water at the moment. So we'll see how that goes. But this is definitely, at this point, this is my favorite Legacy game. It's definitely one I want to play again from start to finish. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys.